Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're talking about the exciting news that we might be getting a wagon version of the WRX and STI. Nothing crazy confirmed yet, but little hints here and there in the news, and a few hints from Subaru. So we're going to talk about all that stuff today, talk about the likelihood of getting a wagon, maybe a hatch, but in reality probably a wagon. I'll tell you a little bit more later why. I do want to apologize. I'm not using my conventional setup here. I've misplaced my microphone, so I'm just holding my Zoom like a microphone, my external microphone, the little thing that snakes up through my sweatshirt and clips on. So I apologize. I've got a new one coming in the mail, and if you guys follow the channel, you know my WRX is getting some work done by me. I'm painting the front lip and doing a little other work on the front bumper. I'm also... The car is kind of dead right now. It's not dead, but I'm not supposed to drive it. Potential that my electronic boost control solenoid is failing or has failed. So I've got to I'm making a video, but I've got to take apart, I got to take the under tray off and actually look, inspect it, and then potentially go to Matt Miner to understand what's happening. Regardless, guys, if you want to see more Subaru WRX content, you want to hear more about Subaru news, you want to see me modify my car, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Every subscription helps. I also highly recommend pushing the bell notification, and it'll let you know when I post videos, so you get up-to-date news, up-to-date modification content, and it'll let you know when I go and live stream, because I've been live streaming kind of every Saturday, and I hope to live stream more during the week just because people want to do question and answer. So I also apologize, I just cracked my knuckle. You might have heard that. So, Subaru WRX and STI hatchback wagon. Do we think it's going to happen? So, something exciting happened, and it could mean that we might get something in the U.S. market. So, in 2014, the Subaru Levorg, which is basically a WRX with a wagon. A lot of people will argue with me. I don't want to start it's like a wagon Impreza with a WRX engine and suspension, but not the WRX gearbox. It's like a hybrid between an Impreza wagon almost with a bigger. I think it's literally supposed to be a wagon legacy. It's a wagon legacy footprint with a wagon with WRX internals. So it's an odd combination of a car. But in 2014, it came out, the first gen came out in Japan, and then since then it's hit the Australian market and a few other European countries, but it's done really well in Japan and especially Australia. Well, really well. It's done pretty well in both and in the European countries. The second generation has just been announced, right? The next generation, or the second generation, is going to be on the new Subaru Global platform. It's the 1.8 liter flat 4 turbocharged engine with a bunch of other goodies that make it kind of similar to the WRX, but not so much. And it's not the engine or the Levorg. Well, it's the Levorg that we're excited about, but it's not the engine and the performance of the Levorg that we're excited about. What we're really excited about is they've released another generation wagon. What that could mean potentially is that Subaru has already done all the research and engineering to make a wagon. Now, they haven't done all of it. Certainly there's a lot they have to do to implement that on the WRX or STI, but they've done a lot of that forward work. They just kind of have to model it onto another car. And you might think that's a lot of work. Well, yes, it is, but it's not as much work as starting from square one, because, you know, we did have the hatchback generation for the WRX and STI, but those cars are so different now, and we've moved to this next generation, and Subaru's kind of adopted a lot of the things across the entire Subaru spectrum, and we see similarities between the WRX, STI, and a lot of their other cars. So my hope is, and I think a lot of people's hope is if they've done the Levorg into a wagon, and who knows if there's the potential of a hatch. The big difference there is how deep that body runs and how close to the axle it is. So there's things. Well, that's not the engineering definition of what a wagon versus hatch is. But if you can imagine, a wagon runs past that rear axle further and then opens, and it doesn't have as much of a cutoff. If you guys are trying to imagine the difference, right? Because it's not clear to me that everybody knows that, and maybe I'll make a video on it because there's actually a lot of aspects that make them different other than just the way they look. But regardless, so there is an opportunity for us to get a wagon. The problem is that if we get a wagon, I'm not entirely confident it's going to sell. I don't personally love the way the Levorg looks. I think it's kind of like a souped up European dad car. But you know, my opinion isn't everybody's opinion. So I think a hatch would be really successful, even if it doesn't look the greatest. The nostalgia of everybody that owned the hatches and how well the hatches did, it's crazy that they removed them, but it makes sense. There's a lot of things that weigh into that, you know, safety, production, how much can we reuse, can the equipment support making a hatch here? Is it going to cost more money for Subaru? There's a lot of things that play into this beyond just people buying them. Because, let's say they came out with a hatch versus and a sedan, and the hatch cost $4,000 more a go. It's probably pretty high, but if there was a significant cost difference, then you're gonna see a drop off in sales, and everybody's gonna become a hatch hater, and they've invested all this money. So there are a lot of things to think about. But because a lot of this is done in a car that they've just released another generation of, and for all intents and purposes, it looks like they're going to continue to produce and try to hit other markets potentially. Maybe not America or Canada. We'll see. There is some infrastructure here to do it. They've at least recreated some manufacturing for something different, and some of their other cars have the hatchback or the Impreza, the Outback. They have all these things, but they don't have the same. They're not geared towards performance. And what's exciting about the Levorg is it is geared towards performance, right? In some essences, and to see Subaru working towards something geared towards performance with that hatch or wagon excites me. And I think it should excite a lot of you guys, because it means there could be big changes in what we see coming from Subaru in the next couple of years. It's unlikely that we're going to see something like that in the next year, but maybe in the next couple of years it's something that could happen and could kind of come to market. I think that eventually Subaru is going to want to put up for a contender against the Civic Type R, which I don't know if the Civic Type R is technically a hatchback or not, but it's pretty much a hatchback. A lot of you guys are going to get triggered and argue with me, but it's not your traditional trunked car. So it's something to think about. It'll be something that's interesting and something that we should watch in the market. I know that we're getting a lot of news right now about the WRX and STI and what's coming. Nothing from Subaru yet. It'll be exciting to see what's published about the Levorg and just, who's pre-ordering it, how they're doing, when is it coming, when's it coming to market, all these things. So that should be something everybody should follow. If you want to follow the channel, I'll definitely give you guys news on it if it kind of comes out. So hit the subscribe button if you want to hear stuff and you're lazy and you just want a notification on your YouTube channel and watch a quick video. So that also greatly helped me. But it's your decision to subscribe or not. I hope I'm providing content that you want to watch. And I know these videos aren't the most fun videos because it's me sitting in front of my car that's basically taken apart. But I can't put a part on for every I can't put a new part on my car for every video. The car would become some monster crazy rally car, and two, I'd have to have an endless wallet. So I do have a lot of modification content coming out. I'm just kind of filming it all in one go, and then I'll release all the videos. It's really hard to take your bumper off and do something, and then put your bumper back on to finish the video, and then take your bumper off again to do something else in your bumper. So it just doesn't make sense. So, while my bumper's off, I'm going to film 6 videos because there's a lot of stuff that I got to do to the car, which is super exciting for you guys because there's going to be a lot of content coming out. And, if you're new to the channel because you're here because you're seeing a piece of news, one of the things that I really try to take pride on, and one of the things I really try to do is I try to test fit and use and test cheap parts. Because not all of us can spend a ton of money. I try not to cheap out where I don't think I can cheap out. So mechanical parts, I try to go with the top of the line stuff. But where I can do exterior modifications and little things, I try to test out the cheaper options. And a great example is I used to have a Perrin front plate delete or relocation kit, a Perrin relocation kit. And I hated it. And I went with a $30 one that I got off Amazon. Amazon, I think, and I very much prefer that one over the Perrin. And that's not saying something about Perrin because I love Perrin's products. I just don't love that one product. So that's a little bit about my channel, but let's talk a little bit more about the Levorg and the potential of a wagon. So I think that if we really want to see a wagon, we need to prove to Subaru that there's a market for it. And it sounds silly, but I think that you'd be surprised how much car manufacturers, especially car manufacturers that break up their teams. So I know for example, Subaru and Audi does this too. They have got teams that work on these cars. Not every car manufacturer does this. Some do, some don't. But there is a team behind the WRX and WRX STI platform, and they look at the market and they do research and they understand what people want and they make changes. You'd be surprised how much, content creators and how much, news and what people's opinions are affect what these car dealerships do, because ultimately you guys are the ones that buy the car. So if we get excited about a hatchback or a wagon, likelihood is probably something's coming. And I think that everybody is excited about a hatchback and they already ask. And I think it takes time to build a car. So it's not like everybody's going to express excitement and then tomorrow we're going to have hatchback, or even that year or in 2 years. It takes 2 to 6 years to get a car to market. So it could come. And it really starts about just expressing that you want it. And I think there's something unique about the Subaru platform, and it makes me excited, and I think it's what keeps a lot of people in the Subaru world, is that, you know, we truly get excited about these cars, and we think that far out because you're so excited about the car, you love the car, you know you're going to have one for the rest of your life. So when you say, you know, on social media, and when you tweet at Subaru, and you have all these conversations, right? You're like, I hope in 5 years Subaru does this, and Subaru knows because of this that they're going to have you as a customer in 5 years, and that's what's so powerful, and that's why community engagement is so powerful. And I know it's not the final decision, but there's power to the consumer here in the car market, so it's something to think about. Well, guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope I provided you guys content that you wanted to watch. I know this is, again, an odd setup. You know, it's an impromptu. I finished work, came down right before I mow the lawn, making a quick video about some Subaru news. But lots of stuff happening with this channel. I appreciate you guys watching this far through. If you did, if you don't think there's going to be a Wagon or hatchback, or you do, I'd love to hear what you're thinking down in the comment section below. I try to respond to every, actually, I pretty much respond to every comment. The only comments that I don't respond to are either ones that don't really have a way of responding to, which is very few actually, and then comments that are just really, really negative. Sometimes I don't respond to them. Sometimes I do. Not to say I don't like negative comments, because hate is hate and you get it on the internet. Sometimes there's just nothing to say, and I don't want to be mean back or anything. Positive vibes only. So stay healthy, guys, keep safe, and enjoy your night. Thanks, guys.